What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be having a look at the fast swap mechanic with pistols in the Modern Warfare 2 beta. I want to show you guys exactly what the timings look like in relation to not having this ability to do the fast swap, which I believe is tied to an attachment on the pistol. Currently, I believe we can only access this through a default setup in the Modern Warfare 2 beta, so we don't know all the details of that, but I can do a direct comparison here. And then I wanted to talk a little bit about reload canceling and share some updated thoughts now that I've been playing with this mechanic for a good amount of time now. I've got several hours in there. Because I have been kind of going a little bit back and forth on the whole lack of reload canceling in this game. There's a part of me that likes the new staged reload mechanic, and then there's another part of me that isn't too happy with reload canceling being gone. And honestly, I feel like there's a more realistic compromise that could potentially make both sides of this happy. But first, let's start with this fast swap pistol mechanic. As of now in the beta, the only way to really see this for yourself and test it out is using the default Phantom class setup in the game, because I believe the pistol has an attachment that allows you to do this fast swap, but unfortunately we can't access the gunsmith on that pistol to see exactly what's going on with it. In either case, this is what it looks like. You can swap very, very quickly to your pistol. You can aim down sight with this as well. It's not limited to hip fire only, which is something that was a bit up in the air when they announced this feature. And let's have a look at the difference in the timings here. With this, I started firing my primary full auto, and then while still holding down the fire button, I pressed the swap weapon button, and then this switches over to the pistol, and even with that fire button held down, it will now immediately fire the first shot out of the pistol as soon as it's ready. So I'm going to calculate the time from the moment that I start switching weapons to the moment the pistol goes off. And without this fast swap pistol mechanic, it takes roughly 534 milliseconds to swap from the FSS Hurricane over to the X12, whereas with this fast swap mechanic, it's 300 milliseconds faster at 234 milliseconds total, which is a significant improvement to that swap time, and it really allows you to get those shots off immediately out of your pistol. So as we can see there, if you're in a super stressed situation and you don't have time to reload your primary, this is an excellent option for you to really quickly get that pistol in the fight. And personally, I think this is an excellent addition, an excellent attachment, and I really like the inclusion of this mechanic. Now, let's get into the next part of the video here, and this is going to be talking about staged reloads and reload canceling. So for those that don't know, staged reloads mean if you start reloading your gun and then you swap away from it, when you swap back to that gun, it sort of saves the state that you were in your reload, at least on a checkpoint basis, so you can continue your reload and finish it off. You don't have to perform the entire animation right from the beginning again. And in some ways, I do think this is a neat mechanic. A lot of other games do it. It's something brand new for Call of Duty. However, this does come with an immediate trade-off, and this is you can no longer cancel a reload animation and get your gun back up in a fight. You have to finish your reload once it's started, or you'll have to swap to a secondary weapon. And I totally get what they're going for here. This is a little bit more realistic, and it also might be nice if you're somebody that starts a reload and you want to swap to your pistol, get a kill, you want to swap back to your gun, and it saves that checkpoint on the gun, so when you swap back, it's not going to take the full animation. The problem I've found with this, though, is within the pacing of 6v6 Call of Duty, where you're on smaller maps with a squad spawn style system, things can change very, very quickly on a moment-to-moment basis. That reload cancel mechanic that we used to have, where if you start a reload but then suddenly somebody starts to come around a corner and challenge you, or somebody spawns right around the corner from you, or whatever it might be, something changes and now somebody is suddenly right on top of you. Your options are much more limited now. Before, there was that sort of quick reaction skill mechanic. You quickly cancel that reload animation and you're back in the fight and you can shoot back at your enemies. And while this isn't the most highly skilled mechanic out there, it is something that generally good players learn how to do quite effectively, whereas the average to lower skill players, they never really picked up on that skill, and therefore it was rare that they would take advantage of that. Now, on the other side of that, of course, there's the argument that you should be more prepared. You should be planning out and thinking about your reloads more often. And I totally get where people are coming from with that, but I'm once again circling back to the more smaller maps, fast-paced, and things can change on a moment-to-moment basis. And it's not viable to always be predicting when somebody is going to just suddenly pop up in front of you. The moment you started the reload animation may have been the perfect time. With all the available information to you, that might have been the best time to reload your gun. But with how quickly things can change in a Call of Duty match, you'll now get caught with your pants down and no real recourse aside from swapping to a secondary weapon. And I also get that argument as well. This makes secondary weapons a lot more powerful. It makes it much more worthwhile to be making sure you're running a pistol on the class. But this, I feel, then clashes with their new perk system that they've got in the game, and this is one of the reasons I don't like the perk system. And this is how our secondary weapon slot now interacts with the extremely powerful UAVs toward the beginning of matches, because nobody can have the ghost perk. So now, if you want to make sure that you're countering an enemy UAV toward the beginning of matches, everybody's telling me, well, you got to put a launcher on your class so you can shoot that UAV down. And that means I can't use a pistol, so now I'm going to get caught with my pants down while trying to reload. And I just feel like that's a bit of an awkward trade-off. It's either have the ability to counter extremely buffed UAVs in the game compared to previous Call of Duty games by running a launcher on your class, but now you're going to get caught with your pants down if you happen to reload at the wrong time, that you can't always predict, by the way. So you just sort of have to accept your death at that point. Or you can have a pistol, so you have that ability to swap over and maybe even fast swap over if you put the right attachments on your pistol. But then you now have no real recourse against the extremely powerful UAVs in the game until your ghost perk eventually charges up throughout a match. Like I said, I just think that is a bit of an awkward trade-off to be making. If we had the ability to have the ghost perk from the moment the match starts, just like every other Call of Duty game out there, then I don't think I'd have this complaint at all. I would adapt to it, no problem. It would take a little bit of time to get rid of that muscle memory of reload canceling, and that's fine. I'm willing to adapt to something like that, but this is just a weird trade-off to me. And instead, I feel like there's a better middle ground here that actually ends up being more realistic when it comes to these reloads. Because a lot of the people that love stage reloads, one of the big reasons they like it is it's more realistic. However, there is some realism involved with a reload cancel as well, up to a point. Basically, what I noticed with the reload mechanics in this game is the moment that magazine leaves the mag well, even if it's still right there, it's in your hand right next to the mag well of the gun, at that point, if you try to cancel the reload animation, the magazine literally disappears from the character's hands, which is actually a lot less realistic than simply putting that magazine back in the gun, which would take basically no time at all, and the gun would be ready to go again. In that sense, you can actually cancel a reload in real life. Now, maybe not as instantly as we've been able to reload cancel in the past, but you technically would be able to sort of cancel that reload. So my suggestion here for a middle ground is I feel as long as the magazine that you're reloading is still in the hand of the character model, I feel you should be able to cancel that reload by simply popping that magazine back in. Even if there has to be a small animation in doing so, just reverse that animation, make it go in rewind and put that mag back in the gun. That would not only be more realistic, that would also allow for staged reloads to still exist, because once that magazine is out of your hand, then of course, reload canceling at that point doesn't make any sense from a realism standpoint at all, because that magazine's gone, you have to grab the new mag now and get that reloaded into the gun. So I think it is a fair compromise that as long as that spent mag is still in your hand, you should be able to put it back in the gun. And I honestly feel like that's the best middle ground. It actually introduces more realism for those people that like staged reloads and the realism that comes with them, while giving some ability to reload cancel as long as you're really quick with it and you catch it in those early stages of the reload animation. Now, of course, this is just my opinion and my thoughts on this. At the end of the day, this is not a game breaker for me. It's one of those minor annoyances I'll eventually adapt to, but I do feel like there's some room for improvement there, and since the devs are asking for feedback, I feel like this would be an improvement in the game. Now, of course, I do want to hear what you guys think about this in the comments down below. First up, what do you guys think about the ability to fast swap to a pistol? Do you really like that they've included that as an attachment for pistols? And second, what are your thoughts on the whole staged reload versus reload canceling debate? Which way do you lean on that? And what do you think about the compromise that I've suggested in this video? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated. And don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.